question 30, part A, section 2, asks you to examine ways that your chosen type of training can be effectively programmed. And that is a 5-mark question. Now, again, the key term here is examine. And once again, the syllabus point is type of training. So just refreshing your memory, just have a look. Here, this is the syllabus. So these are your types of training, from strength, aerobic, anaerobic, flexibility, and skill training. So you would have chosen one of those 5. You then need to show how this type of training can be effectively programmed. All right, let's just have a look at the marking guidelines. Okay, so we're actually looking at the bottom section here, and you can see there, to gain the full 5 marks, you need to have inquired into ways that selected type of training can be effectively programmed. Okay, now note the inquires here will gain you full 5 marks. If you just described the different types of training, so for aerobic, if you just describe what continuous training is, or describe what fartlek training and describe what long interval training is, the most you could get here is 4 marks, and that would be assuming you describe them at a very high level. If you just gave a general sort of description or general sort of outline, you'd be looking at 3 marks, maybe down to 2. Okay, so the important part in answering this question is the actual inquiry. Okay, now what do we mean by inquiry in the context of this question? The context of this question, inquire into, or examine means to inquire into, and you need to illustrate how your chosen type of training is done and the ways in which it can be programmed. You need to examine all 3 syllabus areas from that particular chosen type of training. And as you could clearly see in the syllabus, if I just bring that back on shot, as you can clearly see in the syllabus, every single type of training has 3 separate areas. So it's a pretty straight, cut and dried marking criteria in that you have to examine all 3 different types to get the full 5 marks. So an example of what we mean by this examine is given here. So let's say aerobic training was our chosen type of training. We've then said the activities involved are continuous, uniform, fartlek, and long interval. You would need to examine all 3 of those. Okay, so how it is done. So let's just say we're looking at continuous / uniform. How it is done. You can read there, basically saying it's training that involves sustained moderate intensity exercise at a steady rate. Some examples of this form of training include continuous jogging, cycling, or swimming. And I've written here, give a specific example here. So you would then go say, for example, a marathon runner training for his marathon would be doing sessions roughly of 1 to 2 hours in duration. This is called, without a break, this is called continuous training. The second part, where we examine, so where we inquire into, is the ways it can be programmed. So you can see here, we would say for continuous, uniform training, the intensity would need to be round about 60 to 70%, so 60 to 70% of maximum heart rate. You'd have to have a duration of 60 minutes plus. It'd have to be done without stopping, because if you stopped and had a break, it would not be called continuous training anymore. And then you just make a statement. So when we examine into, we would say these principles are adhered to so the athlete can burn glycogen and fat, and more importantly, they can improve the efficiency of their cardiovascular system. Give your specific example here. You'll notice I've written that. So your specific example, could include, an example of this is a long distance swimmer who goes and does a training session of swimming laps at 70% of his maximum heart rate for a period of 70 minutes. This will improve his aerobic energy system, because that is the predominant energy system used when training is done at this intensity for that duration. Okay, that is how you would examine this particular type of training. And obviously, if you chose aerobic training, you would need to have done that for continuous, which I've just shown you here in this example, and also fartlek and also long interval to get the full 5 out of 5.